The rumors just won't stop with Kevin Durant. He still wants out. Now he wants people fired. And he has such a great relationship with Ime Udoka. Oh my God. All sunshine and puppy dogs right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your regular routine. I'm here for you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday now during August and September, the dead period of the NBA schedule. Don't tell the Nets that it's a dead period, though. More rumors with Kevin Durant. Just can't shake those free. So, gonna talk about them right now. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I'm in my 16th season of covering the Celtics in some form, one way or another. And I've also written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. So you can pick that up wherever they're sold online. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. So since the Monday show, since the Monday mailbag, a new report came out from Shams Charania on the Athletic, saying that Kevin Durant met with Joe Tsai in Brooklyn and reiterated his desire to be traded unless they fired Sean Marks and Steve Nash, basically saying, you need to choose. It's me or it's those guys. And which, I mean, that doesn't sit well with me. Here's a guy who he came to Brooklyn. He went to Brooklyn and they got Kenny Atkinson fired. And they had their hands on the new coaching search. That coach didn't get hired without the approval of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Okay, it didn't go so great. Didn't go quite as great as they had hoped. Did they give it every shot? Did they give Steve Nash every tool that he had to show that he could coach? Or did one of those guys decide, hey, I'm in my first season, I'm just going to take random time off, random just little, I got a party to go to. I got this. And then last season, Kyrie said, I'm not going to get the vaccine. And knowing that this is what was going to be the result. And somehow that's Steve Nash's fault. Fine. I don't know what kind of coach Steve Nash is. He never got a chance to show what kind of coach he really is. I thought he was a good hire because he's the guy that could speak to these guys and speak superstar language. But no one speaks the language of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. No one does. No one understands what these guys are going through. No one understands what these guys are thinking. Nothing. They've created this situation now in Brooklyn that's untenable. And it's all they're doing. So Kevin Durant goes to Joe Tsai and he says, you've got to choose between the coach that I basically chose and the general manager who basically did everything that I asked them to do. How can you say, I don't believe in Sean Marks after you made him sign DeAndre Jordan to a stupid contract? You made him go and get James Harden and give up everything. You made him do all of these little things, all of these maneuvers. You made him fire the coach. You made him do all of this stuff. This is all your fault. And now you look at it, you look at the room burning down and go, man, what a mess. Oh, I can't trust this franchise. No, you can't be trusted. And now he wants to be traded, and everybody is supposed to be on board with, oh, yeah, you got to go get Kevin Durant. Are you kidding me right now? Are you kidding me? That everything this guy has done to a franchise, you think that's worth chasing a championship with him on your franchise. This meeting with Joe Tsai really made me sour on the whole thing even more. If you are building a culture, if you're serious about building a culture, if you're serious about building something where you actually, where it's meaningful, you will not trade for this culture killer. You will not do it. I've just, if the Boston Celtics are serious about maintaining this whole, we're just talking about the loss of Bill Russell, and it's Bob Cousy's birthday, and we're looking back on these giants of Celtics past and what they built and Celtics pride and all of that stuff. And you're going to be like, yeah, we're going to trade all of these guys that have worked and who get what Ime Udoka is trying to do, and we're going to trade these guys for Kevin Durant, who knows, the wind could blow and he might change his mind, or he might think he likes something and then he changes his mind. And then what? How can you trust this guy? You're going to tell me you're building a culture? You're building something that's sustainable? I am so far out. I'm further out after this. And the Celtics' involvement in this story continues because the story ends with this very purposeful. Look, let me tell you something. Shams Charania is great at digging and getting these sources and getting all of this information, but everything that's in these pieces has a purpose. He is very willing to include this information here that people want to get out, right? He is very willing to trade space in his pieces for future tidbits of information. So this paragraph at the end of the piece on The Athletic is what got me. So it's two paragraphs, actually. So he says, with the Celtics, Raptors, Heat remain the most significant candidates to acquire Durant. Sources said with Boston's package centering around Jaylen Brown seen as a viable deal, Tsai and the Nets have made clear privately that they will take every last asset from a team that trades for Durant, sources said. Then, this is the good one. Durant has grown close with Boston coach Ime Udoka in recent years after Udoka spent a year with Durant as an assistant in Brooklyn and later in Team USA for the 2020 Olympics. Isn't that sweet that they're putting it out there that, hey, look, for all of this stuff, Kevin Durant says, but no, Ime, I'm cool with Ime. I'm going to continue this when I come back. First, let's talk about BetOnline, which has the odds for Kevin Durant's next team. At Boston is the favorite on BetOnline. They are the kind of like the runaway favorite now. BetOnline, they're the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs, like something like this. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews, news of every league, and that includes, obviously, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, combat sports, esports, golf. It's all there at BetOnline, which continues to be the #1 top online resource for all your sports wagering information. They also have live in-game betting. You can also check scores, listen to podcasts. They've got you covered for everything. Head on over to BetOnline today. You can use your mobile device if you'd like. You can learn about all the action happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You can make Locked On NBA your second listen every day. I just finished recording a Locked On NBA podcast with Jake Madison. It was a big would you rather episode because of this Kevin Durant thing. We said, well, would you rather trade Kevin Durant or keep Sean Marks? Jake and I disagreed on which way to go. Bet you could figure out by the tone of this podcast which one I chose. So check out Locked On NBA. Wherever you found Locked On Celtics, you can get Locked On NBA free, fresh, regular podcast. Also on YouTube. Make sure you're watching the show on YouTube. So very purposefully a line included in Shams Charania's piece about how close Durant has gotten to Ime Udoka, very clearly sending out the signal from Kevin Durant's people that, hey, look, I know that this looks bad, but we actually respect Ime, and so you don't have to worry. Which may be true, but I'm not interested. I am not interested in a guy who comes in and treats a franchise the way he's treated the Brooklyn Nets. And over what? Over supporting his friend Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie decided to do things that were his personal choice and had a negative impact on the franchise. And you want to sit there and be like, yeah, well, it was his choice to not get vaccinated. And fine, but that comes with consequences. Choices come with consequences. And even if you didn't like the rules, those were the rules, and everybody knew them going in. So you can say, well, that's a BS rule. So what? Doesn't matter. That is the rule. And that costs Brooklyn. And Brooklyn, to their credit, to their absolute credit, said, you know what? We can't trust you, Kyrie Irving. We're going to take a hardline stance. We're not going to sit here and just give you all of this money just because you're Kyrie Irving. When you play, you can be great. When you play, if you play, but you can't be trusted to play. And Kyrie has made his decisions, and Kevin Durant's just clearly backing that up. He signed the 4-year extension knowing that Sean Marks was there, knowing that Steve Nash was the coach, never making it an issue until, now all of a sudden it is. And now these signals of, hey, look, loves Ime. Who doesn't love Ime? I applaud Brooklyn, and I think that they have the opportunity here to build a very strong culture in Brooklyn by not capitulating like teams tend to do to their megastars, not capitulating to, well, you do this and now you do that and you do that. We've seen it with LeBron and Anthony Davis in Los Angeles. They had full control of everything, and that's not working out. And now Kevin Durant is in full control of everything, and that's not working out. It makes me very happy to see Jayson Tatum in The Athletic saying, Brad Stevens doesn't, he lets me do my thing. The quote is, he lets me do my thing. I let him do his thing. Right. And so Tatum doesn't come in and say, you got to go get KD because I love KD. He's not sitting there making these decisions. I love that he's just saying, look, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to listen to my coach. When Brad was the coach, I listened to him. Now I don't have to listen to him anymore. Great. You do your thing. You make those decisions. I'm just going to play basketball. Love it. That's exactly what you want from a star player, a superstar player, a guy who could be your MVP and could lead you to a finals and into championship. I don't want the guy in Durant coming in and exerting this influence. And I don't know what's going to happen. Is Brad Stevens, if you get Kevin Durant, going to sit there and say, you know what, KD, no, I'm not going to bring in your guy. I'm not going to bring in DeAndre Jordan. Hey, we need a backup big. Sign DeAndre. Is Brad Stevens going to do that? Or is he going to be smart and say, no, I'm not going to do that? Because you have to make a decision. If Kevin Durant is coming to the Boston Celtics, then he has to fit in. He can't take over. This is not his franchise. You can't have that. And look, the Celtics might have to trade for him anyway, or not have to, but might end up trading for him anyway, which I'll get to later. But if they do, which you can tell by the look, if you're watching on YouTube, it's like somebody just farted next to me, this face that I'm making. If they do, then what are they going to, they have decisions to make. Because are they gonna just be the team that is like every other team is like, yeah, go do what you want. We'll just kind of do whatever you want. Or are they going to be the team that says, nope, Ime's your coach, Brad's your GM, these are your owners. Get in line. Get in line. We will respect you as a player. We will respect your input because players and in the NBA, there is a very collaborative effort. We will respect that. We will treat you with the respect of a legend. Yeah, all of that stuff. But the outside stuff, the telling Brad what to do, telling Ime what to do, like I'm in control here. No, that can't happen. That can't happen. And if it does happen, then the Celtics have screwed up and everybody's got to go. And I don't want everybody to go because I like the job that these guys are doing. I don't even want to have this temptation from Brad to be like, all right, look, we made this decision. We committed to this guy. What's the big deal if we sign DeAndre Jordan to a minimum? What's the big deal? The big deal would be that you're just giving in. Now you're doing what every other team did. That would be the big deal. I don't want this guy to come in like Venom and just completely take over everything. Like that's not what the Celtics are supposed to be. That's not what got this team to the finals. What got this team to the finals is everybody buying in, everybody following a plan, Ime and everybody holding each other accountable, and it being one unit that went in and did a job, played defensively, worked together, played for each other, played for the coach. And now here comes Kevin Durant, with who I don't know what's going on with him, but man, his star has fallen. He's obviously still great, right? Like he's an MVP candidate, no doubt about that. Everything, I know what he is as a player, but man, this whole trade request, this whole pick me or the GM and the coach, like what is this? What is this? And I'm pro player agency. I'm very pro player. Look, I've said this a million times on the podcast. I'm a union guy. I believe in workers' rights. I believe that to the level of NBA workers, the players, and their rights and their unique rights as both employee and product. I believe in the players. I will almost always side with the players. But at some point, players overstep their bounds not because they need to be in a certain place, and they overstep their bounds because they don't have the level of expertise to be GMs and coaches. You're players. Your mentality is different. Players have egos. They're supposed to have egos. But those egos get out of control and they believe that they can trump things like Russell Westbrook's deficiencies. LeBron and Anthony Davis think, hey, we like Russ. He's going to come in here. He's going to play ball. And Russ comes in and says, they got me for me. I'm going to be Russ because they traded for Russ. And all of a sudden you have that like banging the heads. That's the dynamic here. That's the same dynamic. Kevin Durant thinks, hey, I'm KD, and he's always going to think I'm KD, even as his skills decline, and he's going to think he's got the power to influence front offices and the power to get a coach fired and the power to do all that stuff. Just don't want that around. I don't want the Celtics to fall into that trap. But they might end up having to trade for, not having to trade. It's the second time I said that. They might end up trading for him anyway because they might end up having the best deal. I'll get to that in just a second. I got to stop phrasing this like they might end up having to trade. I think I'm just getting my words mixed up. But you hear the Pelicans saying like, no, we're not going to throw Brandon Ingram into this deal. We're just not interested to that level. You hear the Raptors say no to Scotty Barnes. And this notion of, I don't even know if it was an actual offer, but this package that keeps floating out there that is referenced again in this Athletic piece, that the quote, Boston's package centering around all-star forward Jaylen Brown is seen as a viable deal. If the Celtics say, hey, look, it's going to hurt to trade Jaylen, which I disagree with. I don't want Jaylen traded. I reiterate that stance. But if they say, look, we're not sure if he's going to come back, so we're going to go all in. If it's going to be 2 more years of a player, then it might as well be 2 more years of KD, and we'll figure it out from there. And good luck to you, Jaylen. If that's their attitude, and I can see people who say that that's actually fair. Well, I get it. If you are convinced that Jaylen Brown is not coming back, and I say this as Brad Stevens, if Brad Stevens is absolutely convinced, if he has been told in no uncertain terms, Jaylen Brown is out of here in 2 years, and there is nothing you can do to smooth it over, and there's nothing you can do to bring him back, then okay, fine. I get it. 2 years of KD, the best 2 years of KD are probably going to be at the very worst equal to, but probably better than, the next year or two of Jaylen Brown. All of the stuff that I said about culture and all of that stuff, if the Celtics are able to hold off and say, KD, if you're coming here, you are a player, you're not influencing anything we do in the front office, we're not changing any coaches for you, we're playing basketball with you, all we want to do is hoop, you want to hoop, let's just get through this and maybe win a championship. If they can do all that, then fine. Then I will just have to deal with it and hope that all of the stuff that I'm worried about just doesn't happen. But if all these other teams are out and the Nets say, we got no other options, it's Jaylen, Derek White, and a pick, and just fine, deal with it, then maybe Boston does make this deal. I very clearly, I don't think there's any sort of indication that Jaylen Brown is anywhere close to even not wanting to come back. Every indication has been that Jaylen Brown likes it in Boston. I don't want to trade Jaylen Brown, not for Kevin Durant. Maybe Kevin Durant 4 years ago, if Kevin Durant was 30, then okay. And if we didn't have all this other extraneous crap, then okay, then we could talk. But nothing has changed my mind. In fact, as I've been saying, I'm dug in. I'm further dug in. When KD said, or the reports are that KD said, it's the front office, it's Marks and Nash or me, that further dug me in. Put down roots, build a tent. I'm just dug in. I'm staying here. But if the Celtics, look, if the Raptors aren't going to give in, Miami's not going to give in, they're not trading Bam out of bio. So if Boston's deal is the best deal, if there is a deal there to be had, got to be careful about that. Even if there is a deal there to be had. If that deal is the best deal and the Celtics get KD, I'm worried, because the worst case scenario is that he gets hurt, he misses significant time, he is unhappy, the relationship with Ime is not enough to save whatever feeling that he has. Kyrie is in his ear chirping about Boston, and I don't understand how someone who's such close friends with Kyrie would even consider Boston after, I'm sure, everything Kyrie must have said about the franchise. But here we are. I just don't. I fear the worst case scenario. This is how I like to make big decisions in my life. I like to make big decisions by considering worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that can happen? If I'm making a decision, I say, okay, I do this. I'm now looking at the best case scenario because the best case scenarios very rarely happen. I'm looking at it as if everything goes wrong, where am I after this? Right? I make a certain decision about a job or whatever, and I say, if everything goes wrong, where am I? Am I still okay? All right, then I'm willing to take this risk. If everything goes wrong and I'm screwed by my own decision making, I say, no, I'm not ready to take that risk. Because if I'm really killing myself, then I don't want to do that. I want to give myself a chance because I think I can make certain things work, right? So the worst case scenario is how I look at things. If you keep Jaylen Brown, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is in a couple of years he leaves. All right, that's bad. But if in 2 years he leaves and he tells you, hey, I'm out of here, then Boston can say, all right, well, we'll trade you. And Jaylen in his prime can probably get you either another all-star in return or some role players or some draft picks. Maybe the Celtics have to completely retool. Maybe they go in a different direction. Maybe whatever it is, you can trade Jaylen Brown at 27 and get a haul. So if that's the worst case scenario, the worst is like, damn, that sucks that Jaylen is gone. And the Celtics will take a hit and hopefully they can recover. But at least there's a path, a way out. What's the worst case scenario if Kevin Durant comes to Boston? You've given up players, whatever players you've given up, Jaylen and Derek White, okay, and a pick, whatever. Worst case scenario is the injury bug continues to bite him. He doesn't play enough, and the Celtics don't win a championship. So after 2 years, the Celtics are stuck. They don't win a championship. They're paying Kevin Durant a ton of money, and he becomes one of these albatross contracts. One of these contracts that at $50 million a year for 37, 38-year-old Kevin Durant, who's broken down in a shell of his former self, and no real way to get anything for him because he makes so much money and there's just not enough production there to justify trading for him. That he's no longer a great option. That Jayson Tatum opts out, and it's the first year of the new TV deal, and a lot of teams are going to have free agent money. So Jayson Tatum opts out and looks at the landscape and says, I can go wherever I want. Worst case scenario is the whole team blows up in 2 years if you trade for KD and it doesn't go right. The worst case scenario is in 2 years, you're starting completely over. And I think the worst case scenario by keeping Jaylen is in 2 years, you're readjusting. So I don't care how chummy he is with Ime Udoka. I don't give a damn. I am so turned off by this whole Kevin Durant saga. I want nothing to do with the guy. I understand he's a better player than Jaylen Brown currently at this moment as I'm recording this on August 10th, but not worth it. The Celtics are not that desperate. As Jayson Tatum said on The Athletic, he believes in this roster. I'm positive, quote, I'm positive that we got the right group that will buy in. We can't look past anything. Just try to coast our way to the finals. We got to start from training camp. We got to start from day one. I'm positive that we got the right group that will buy in. That's it. Period. End of story. We've got the right group that will buy in. I don't trust Kevin Durant to buy into anything anymore. Boston wasn't on that original list. Always remember that. Boston wasn't on that original list. Boston swooped in later and became this viable option, but he wanted to go somewhere else. Kevin Durant's first choice was somewhere else. It was Phoenix, and that situation got screwed up. And it was other teams, and those situations aren't working out. Boston is not his first choice. I don't trust Kevin Durant to stick around. I don't trust that worst case scenario to be avoided. I don't trust any of it. So I don't want to hear any of this stuff anymore. I'm out on KD. I don't care. I don't care how friendly he is with Ime. They can smile and laugh and all that stuff wherever he's playing, whenever the Celtics are on the road there, or whenever that team comes to Boston. And that's the end of it. Enjoy your career. Someday when the stink of all of this fades, we can look back at KD's amazing career as one of maybe the top 5 players, top 10 at the worst of all time. Legendary career. Just a crappy ending. Just a crappy closing act to Kevin Durant's career. I'll be back on Friday with a new podcast, fresh podcast for you 3 days a week here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts daily. Well, not daily. Back to daily when the season starts, 3 days a week in August and September. Back on Friday. So make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Also, share the podcast. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.